Hi, everyone. It's Sarah Trott here with the Fourth Trimester podcast. I'm here with a special guest, and we're talking about the mental load of new parenthood and what that is. It's really a part of parenting that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but it's there. It's this invisible thing, and it's for sure in the category of the stuff that you wish someone told you before you had the baby. So here we are. We're telling you. If you're already a parent, then you will be familiar with this. But we're going to dive into the topic. It's the constant planning, tracking, remembering, anticipating, keeping everything running, and how over time it just quietly becomes really overwhelming, especially when it's not shared, if it's all on one person's shoulders. So we'll talk about how to recognize mental load early, why it can fall unevenly, what you can actually do to rebalance it in a way that supports both parents and your baby. And I'm joined by Dr. Shoshana Bennett. Dr. Shosh, she is a returning guest. We're so excited always to have her on the program. If you're not familiar with her, we're going to link to all her episodes in the show notes so you can listen to her entire catalog with us. She's a clinical psychologist and a maternal mental health expert, and she's been supporting parents through the transitions of parenthood for many decades, and she's written many books, which we will also link to. So, this conversation will help you understand what's really happening beneath the surface and give you some practical ways to create a more sustainable and supported start to new parenthood. Welcome, Dr. Shosh.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you back as always. Tell me more about like your experience with this topic in particular.
My clients raise it all the time, and it's a different, they call it different things, but it always comes up as resentment. Like, why am I managing everything? I found myself in charge. My husband will help me, but he always comes to me and says, so what can I do? Just tell me. Yeah. I mean, married to really nice people, usually. But it still feels like everything is falling on her shoulders. By the way, it can be in reverse as well. And I'm not picking on anybody here. This dynamic can happen insidiously. It can creep in there when we're not, before we're even consciously aware of what's going on. So this isn't about blaming. It's not about saying, this one's bad and this one's not at all. And it takes two, it takes both parents to do it well. So, again, I want to say that first of all, just that my clients are mainly women. So I'm hearing it mainly, and also disproportionately, the female the females are taking some time off, which kind of makes it it's easy to turn it into that dynamic when she is doing most of the childcare. And the mental load stuff, it's a great topic, and I'm so glad we're doing it. It intensifies. It could have been there even before children were there, right? Because there's still a household to take care of. But we're talking about specifically, during parenthood, and it intensifies during the fourth trimester. So whatever's hanging around, as with anything else, whatever is hanging around that feels unbalanced, you use that word, and I'm glad you did, feels unbalanced even before children come into the picture, is going to intensify unless you're really, really careful.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It can exist even before kiddos, right? Because you've got all these things that you're managing day to day in life. You mentioned men versus women. It can happen in same-sex couples,
You
right?
bet. We're talking partners here. I automatically default to husband, wife, but yes, I'm talking about two parents. And the reason why we're talking two, obvious, because there isn't going to be an imbalance with one. Whoever that person is got the whole load unless they hire help or ask for. So yes, we're talking about a two parent household here. So if I say husband or wife or man or what, yes, it's whatever two people are managing the household and children as part of the household together.
Yeah, thank you. So should we just define what we mean by mental load in new parenthood?
Yeah, that's a very good idea because often folks assume that mental load is more simply the not simply, but just the tasks involved, like who is doing more. Mental load encompasses all of it. Thinking about running out of cleaning supplies and then buying them and then following up and making sure, whatever's done is done and then anticipating. And it's always thinking, strategizing, preparing. It's that it can be a constant feeling of this is never ending. I mean, I always have these things on my mind, and you want to, well, I'm jumping the gun here, but what you want to avoid is getting, like this, like one person is doing the managing of everything and the load is falling on one half of the couple. And that's where resentment can happen. It's not good for the children. It's definitely not good for the relationship. It's not good for the individuals within the relationship. So let's talk about how to avoid it. Because again, it can creep in there. And often one part of the couple is just resigned to it, and that's not good. That's not good. So there's so many different aspects to mental load, but hopefully I answered the question. It's not just the doing of the task, it's everything involved with that task and the constant, thinking about it, preparing for it, strategizing, doing it, following up with it to make sure everything is done. It's like it's a lot. So that's mental load. And when a baby joins a family or another child, uh, uh, you know, it everything is exacerbated with mental load, and yeah. We have to make sure that doesn't happen, so you don't have to undo it later.
Right. Yeah, because that can really build up. You mentioned some people just feel resigned to it. Is
Yes.
there also just a lack of awareness? I mean, what we're doing, hopefully, with this conversation is putting a name to what this feeling is, right? Because some people may not even have taken the time to reflect and say, like, why am I feeling resentful? Or why am I feeling so exhausted when all I had to do was, these 100 little things. But like maybe people aren't even aware.
You're absolutely right that that can happen, and it does happen. Sometimes they are aware of it. They don't have a name for it, but they're resigned to it because they've seen it generation after generation and they simply accept it. That I see quite a bit. So part of my job is to raise awareness. Again, not in a blaming way, because whoever I'm talking to, whoever my client is, needs to step up and go, you know what? You've been 50% of this. So let's talk about how to undo it in a loving, supportive way.
Yeah. Especially when you have two people in the household are probably both working. So there's if one person is taking on more of the household tasks on top of the professional work, then that can feel really, really not 50-50. You mentioned resentment. Are there other signs that might be tells that someone is feeling unbalanced or that their mental load is becoming too heavy?
Well, I'll answer that by saying here are some of the things to watch for. If you're feeling like you need to be asking for help all the time or a lot of the time, or if spouse is saying, well, just tell me what to do. Just I don't know. So if you're feeling that way, tell me and I'll do it. That's a way to tell it's a bit lopsided. Like one person is handling all the management of that particular area, right? Um, uh, Also not good if a kid is always depending on one parent to do everything. I mean, you should be interchangeable, and differences are fine. Here's something I wrote it in my notes. By the way, if you see me doing this, it's like I have a million and one things I want. It's such a juicy topic. So if I wrote down a bunch of notes, I hope I can get them all in. Often my clients, of course, they don't want to be the manager. They're tired of all of it. It's like, why do I have to ask?
Yeah.
Well, why can't my partner just see? There's a laundry basket there. Why, what, why is my partner just sitting on the couch and I'm feeling like I need to ask, would you please fold the And I'll say, well, and when your partner does fold the laundry, are you fine with how the laundry is folded? I mean, I'm just using this as a little, example. And often, not always, but often I'll hear, well, I kind of like it done this way and not this way. So I'll correct them, or I'll do it, I'll do it over later, I say, look, if you really want what you say you're wanting, which is to rebalance the mental load, you got to let go. And often they don't want to hear that. They recognize, okay, you're right. I've got to back off, right? And I'll talk to them, of course, about other things we've discussed even on your show. That different doesn't mean wrong.
Hmm.
It's just different, and it's when we talk about childcare too. If the buttons are done a little bit differently on the shirt, or the order of things in the morning, if breakfast happens before something else, it just little things, not health or safety things, not huge things, but if just the manner of taking care of something is different, and the other spouse is always correcting or even suggesting when it's not asked for, when it's not requested, that will undermine the balance of the mental load. So you can't have it both ways. So I really want your audience to hear that. If you want what we're talking about here, which is ultimately, the healthiest way to run a household, in certainly my opinion, then you gotta let go. And you cannot micromanage, or it's really gonna sabotage the process.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's the delegation of power. You need to delegate some power and some decision making to someone else and trust them that they'll do it, right? Because that's what they're doing for you when you're managing something else.
Right. And I'd actually even like to tweak delegate. That still means that you're in charge.
Yes, so it makes someone else in charge
I
completely of
If
that
that's
thing.
right, right, right. So, let's say here's my suggestion, and I suggest this to all my clients. Ultimately, if you can get a half hour every week to have what I call a business meeting. I've got to change that term. Business meeting feels so serious.
It does.
I'm suggesting I mean, if you can go out for a walk, if it's not 20 below zero or whatever, just do something. You can make it lighthearted. You could ask things like, oh, did anything feel really tough on you this week? Ask the other one, do we need to rebalance it all? What's coming up next week? That might not work. So that's a good way to help avoid resentment. So one isn't telling the other one what they are in charge of. Before that walk, before the rebalancing, you can sit down together and choose the areas or domains, however you want to refer to them. Who's going to be in charge of what? So rather than one partner saying, well, you are going to do this, 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 and this, ask, let's each choose the areas we're going to be in charge of. So if it is laundry, if somebody chooses laundry, it's not only the doing of the laundry, like we were talking about at the very beginning. It's the buying of the supplies, it's the doing, it's the folding of the it's the what, unless they work it out differently and each couple can do it in a way that, but it's the whole thing, so that one partner isn't thinking, "Okay," let's say somebody's in charge of feeding, but before a partner leaves, they think, "I've gotta get the bottle ready, and I've gotta do this, and I gotta do" No, feeding is a domain. How the baby's gonna be fed is a whole area. The one who's not in charge of that domain technically doesn't have to think about it at all. So that's very different from just the doing of the feeding or the doing of the laundry, as opposed to letting go of everything that concerns that area. And sometimes that's hard to do, to let go, as I was saying earlier.
Yeah. So if someone is the owner of that task, say it's feeding, for example, the other person could help. They could say, well, I'll be the bottle washer. Even though you're in charge of feeding, I could help support you with just being the bottle washer.
That's fine. If the person would like some help, it's absolutely fine. And the whole 50-50 thing, I've always had a hard time with. It's let's split it 50-50. I believe in 100-100. I mean, you want to give 100% of everything you can daily. Now, does that mean you are actually doing as many tasks as you're doing as many as you possibly can? Sometimes it's earning money so the family can live, which is, and you're giving 100% to that, right? But I think of it as, you always want to be a yes partner, whenever possible. So let's say your spouse is in charge. I love the way you said owner, the owner of the laundry thing. I keep picking on laundry anyway because it's simple. Okay, so the laundry domain, and the other partner gets home from work, and the partner that happens to be home at that time says, "I am spent. I cannot. What we need more." Whatever, we need more washcloths or whatever. I cannot do this. The other one should always, whenever possible, and that's more than 99%. That's 99.9% of the time, should be able to say, "I hear you. If you're telling me you're spent and you've got to either lie down or walk around the block or something, or you're going to lose it, I'm stepping up." So it's not about not pitching in, or if someone's 100% cannot fully take care of the domain they own, to use your term. Listen, that happens. I mean, that's life. If somebody's sick, the other one, right, takes up the slack and does what can't be. So I believe I call them being a yes partner. That is and it's very, 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 very important. And if you notice this happening, something's unhealthy. Do not keep score. Who is doing more? Well, I did 4 things this morning, and my partner only did 2. And that's not you're you take a look at yourself. You need to be doing 100%. You need to be giving as much as you can give to your family. Hopefully, your partner feels the same way.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, is that keeping score stuff part of the resentment and part of the signs that this needs to be addressed?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, but sometimes it's also the way somebody grew up. I mean, maybe they watched their parents do it. And it's they're ready to, okay, there could be different components there, but yes, often the answer to your question is yes. That could be from resentment. They see how much, they start to tally up how much they're doing and then compare it to what they think their partner's doing. And by the way, sometimes they're really off. It's a perception, but when they actually write down the things that their partner's doing, they can be blown away, and that's not a bad thing. But yes, the short answer is yes, that can be a sign. But if there's any scorekeeping going on, um, yeah, that's definitely a flag. That means, take a look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. because it's not going to bring a couple closer.
Most definitely not. And often, not only is it leading to resentment, actually in both directions. Um, it can lead to competition, feeling unappreciated, taken advantage of. It's not healthy all the way around, and the kids will feel it.
Yeah. It's the opposite of the intimacy conversation we had.
Exactly. This often gets in the way. So I'm very much, you and I are very much encouraging your audience to don't feel badly if it's already sort of in there, because again, it can slip in there even when you're not aware of it. It can happen to the best of parents. But if it is there, learn how to, with some of our suggestions, hopefully get yourself into a much healthier place, because your whole household will be happier.
Yeah. Well, you started to touch on the suggestions before on taking a walk, and I mean, I'll just put it this way: why is it that like just communicate more actually doesn't really solve anything, and like what would work instead?
Gosh, there's so much I want to say. Nothing came out of my mouth. Okay, let me start with this. Make sure I will answer your question, but make sure that if you are communicating, I just need I've just got to get out of here. I got to take a walk. Please take over. Make sure you're being honest and you don't keep taking advantage of a compliant and a yes partner, who's stepping forward, taking care of picking up the slack. I'm mentioning that for a reason. Actually, uh, I'm I've worked with folks in the past who do take advantage of that. And so they'll say, there's communication, right? They're verbally communicating. I can't do this. I know it's my domain. I got to get out of here. Can you please do it? If it's not honest communication, it's called deception. And that is going to lead down a very bad path too. So again, self-examine. It's very easy to do that. Even good people do this. So I'm not saying, I'm not calling anybody a liar, but it's not healthy, and you're going to know it and you're going to feel it, and it's not going to be good for you if you're taking advantage of your partner. So I just wanted to throw that in there too.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I like that, and actually, you're making me think that some partners might have different thresholds of what exhaustion is, and what is just one thing too much. So if one partner has a very low threshold, they're like, "Ooh, I just can't do anymore." The other person's like, "Well, I've already done so much more than that, but okay, I guess I'll help you if you're really feeling that way."
yeah,
That could maybe contribute to some of that.
yes, you bet. Yeah. So for we're speaking in a very general way, of course, but if there can be different reasons why that's happening in your household, but just be really honest. And if you want to do some bartering, I mean, that's okay too. How about if I'll take my walk, I'll come home and I'll take over, if you'd like, I'll take over the putting the kids to bed tonight. Would you like to trade with me? That's okay. And it's also, yeah, okay. That's probably enough there, but it's fine. I mean, communication is great, but then there's got to be the follow through. There's the yes, I can do that. And then there's the appreciation. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Don't just take, again, you don't assume that your partner knows you appreciate that. Say, sweetie, I so appreciate you. Thank you. Go take your walk, come back, take over the nighttime or not, depending on what you've worked out. But it's more than just talking about it. The follow through is needed. Were you thinking of other things as well, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, I think you were touching on earlier having household meetings and
Oh,
having more of a system. So not just a
yeah.
one-off conversation
Yes.
and a one-off conversation like because the exhausted thing is really it's a good powerful tool when it's honest and used properly. but that's more like the exception. Like the
Yes.
regular system
Yes.
sounds like it involves a little bit more.
Most definitely. And again, I think weekly in a busy household, it shouldn't be less than a week because things are changing all the time and appointments are happening. And, if you've got the pediatric appointment domain, if that's yours and you own it, right? And something's coming up and you know that you have something else that day that just popped it, that's when you rebalance for the following week. I won't be able to do that thing. That's where communication comes in. And then you talk about who's going to handle what.
Yeah. That
But
could look like sitting next to each other with your calendars open.
absolutely. Oh yeah. Well, there definitely should be a shared something.
Yes.
A shared calendar is very important. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's online or if it's on the refrigerator written or whatever, but it's got to be where both of you can access it for sure. But yeah, again, I used to say a half an hour every week. If that feels like it's too much, you know, then do 15 minutes. Because once you've got the areas designated, it's not going to take long to go, oh, here's what's coming up next week, or yeah, that felt a bit heavy this week. Can we rebalance that a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for someone who's new coming into this, it might be useful to have a little kickoff exercise, right? Let's list out all the things that are typical of things that could be owned in a household like ours. You can use AI tools for this. And
Yeah.
if you want, like, how about this? I'll put a link to a tool. Like, we can create one just to get people started. We'll put it in the show notes for this episode. And you can actually look at the list and kind of designate, does someone own this? Like, I own this, you own this, or no one owns this. We have to make a decision. Like, that would be a really great exercise.
Absolutely. And be aware, even as you're doing that important process, that neither one of you is taking charge of it, because that's how it starts. Ask your partner, which ones of these do you feel, do you want to own, so that you're not doing the delegating, or your
Yes.
partner isn't saying, you're in charge of this and this and this and the resentment can start right there.
Yeah.
So you want to actually create this from the very beginning in a balanced, healthy way.
hmm And there might be defaults of owners that already exist, but
Yes.
maybe you don't want to own that thing. Like, this is a place to have a fresh start. Like, I would much rather not own cooking, or I would much rather not own whatever it is.
Right.
Taxes.
And about cooking, by the way, yeah, no, that's a great one. The domain could actually be called something else. Providing dinner, which can be anything. And the other one never complains, only says thank you. If a takeout pizza is put on the table that night, it's thank you, honey. You see, so if they're in charge, they're in charge. And the cool thing is that, again, you're not, if it's not your domain, technically, you don't have to think about it. You don't follow up. Did you make sure to do the whatever? Let it go. And I know there can be some worry, especially if there has been, the imbalance and the mental load, before the baby. There can be sometimes a lack of trust. I say, well, how about you take a step back and see what happens when you give your partner the trust? Maybe your partner will really step up and take care of that. And often they are shocked, or it takes one of them going on a business trip to realize that, oh, my partner can do that. Yeah, partner got up and took care of the baby in the middle of the night. But sometimes it's a real shocker. I go, uh-huh, that's it. Take a step back, stop feeling like you gotta oversee everything, and watch what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's surprising sometimes too, like, kids can behave differently with one parent versus the other, where it's like, "Oh, this one thing is so hard," and then one person goes out of town and they're like, "Oh, nope, it was
I know.
easy as
It
the
can be
kids did it
annoying check.
themselves."
You're right. How did you get them to do it? No,
Yeah.
they just did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very true. And
Yeah.
that's great for kids too, to really get that feeling of difference. It's
Mhm.
not about hiding things from the other parent. No, not at all. There's no deception there at all. It's just a different manner of doing things. Maybe bedtime was a little bit later or a little bit earlier over here. It's just difference. And that's really great for kids to be able to adapt. Maybe one partner plays a little rougher, when they're with the kid than the other. I mean, that's great for their brain chemistry,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's lower anxiety and lower overwhelm overall for this rebalancing, right?
yes. And a lot more appreciation. Couples, couples will feel that respect for each other. When this is done well, and I see it done well all the time, and also, getting things rebalanced if it's off kilter, you can get it back where it was or even redo it completely so that it's healthy for the first time. It really is quite beautiful. I mean, the ripple effects when you do this well is it's beautiful to watch on the whole family unit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's like there's kind of more positive energy in the house, more positive emotion. You mentioned the benefits for the children, right? They'll see the
Yeah.
stronger partner connection
Yes.
and they will absolutely benefit from that.
Oh, how could they not? And, on a practical level, if let's say one owns the laundry, I keep picking on laundry, and comes over going, "Oh my gosh, we need to do laundry and we're out of soap." The other one can, in a kind way, go, "Oh my goodness, how are you gonna take care of that?"
Yeah.
Not in a snarky way, but just remembering just because it was forgotten over here doesn't mean they have to take it over, or they could offer to do a favor. Remember, you're always doing 100%, right? It should be few and far between that's forgotten, but hey, we're human and sometimes we forget to pick something up on the way back from work. So again, it's all watch your attitude, not your partner's, and thinking about what your partner can do differently. This is true with every single topic we've ever talked about.
Yeah.
Watch yourself so that when you look in the mirror, when you go to sleep at night, you feel great, not resentful, but you feel great about the 100% that you brought that day to the family.
Yeah. And the grace you're able to provide to someone else if they make the occasional mistake, which is inevitable
Exactly right. This
because
isn't
you would
about
want that grace.
perfection.
Yeah. I love that. So, if there's one small shift that a parent or couple could make immediately, like this week, to reduce the mental load, feel more supported, what do you recommend they start with?
Sitting down together or walking together and making a list of everything, and that's going to be a long list of what it takes to run the household. Do this lovingly. Don't just, this is just a simple, because again, there are things that each one is not even going to think of. It's like, oh, yeah, thank you for, there might be a list of 75 things. And I think just having that very first acknowledgement that there's a lot to run a family and set it in a loving tone. If you start out with resentment, like I'm doing so much and I just made a list of all the things I'm doing and it's not fair. If you come at it with that kind of tone, you're going to get defensiveness. You're going to get scorekeeping. Well, I do so much too, and I feel unappreciated. And every time you know what I mean? It's not going to work. So first get yourself in that mental mindset of, ooh, we're going to do something juicy, wonderful for the family. And I'm really excited about it. And approach your partner like that and say, how about we make a list of everything that needs to happen? Cause you could say, you might be doing things that feel a bit heavy, or I might be. So let's work this out to make this family run as smoothly and wonderfully as possible. So we both feel like we're taken care of.
What a beautiful stated goal. Yeah, I like that. So you're starting with this goal, the vision of how we want things to be, and inviting the other person to come along on that journey, inviting them
Exactly.
to be part of this. What
Exactly. The atmosphere is set first.
Yeah. And what if someone's getting resistance?
Don't give up and don't fight. You keep uh, uh, dribbling on the. Yeah, I say you're kind of dribbling a little bit every week, going, huh? This looks like it might be heavy on you. Why don't we sit down together? Why don't we take that walk together and talk about it? Sometimes when there's resistance, the one doing the resisting is afraid they're going to be attacked. And this happens a lot. They have already heard a lot of complaining. This isn't always the case, but they're assuming they're about to be jumped on with a scoreboard. Take responsibility for that just in case you've been doing that and your partner is resisting. Going, honey, you might even say, I know you might have heard some negativity out of me, and that must be really uncomfortable for you. I don't want to do that anymore. It doesn't feel good for me. I know it doesn't feel good for you. It's not good for the kids. Let's, are you willing to have a fresh start? Just to start from scratch, wipe everything clean. Are you willing to just join me in this, because this is a partnership that let's see how wonderful we can make it. Are you willing to join me? But they need to see it and feel it from you, and they're not going to believe it. So it's really up to the person doing the approaching, not just the person stopping the resistance. You're
Yeah,
going to have much more of what you want.
yes. I appreciate you saying that and actually kind of talking through an example of how that might sound because acknowledging your own role in that can just really like take the pressure off. Take all this like unspoken pressure out of the room. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Maybe I will open up. Maybe I will be vulnerable again and have this conversation with you.
exactly. And
Yeah.
again, it isn't always easy letting go, because sometimes it becomes part of somebody's identity to be the martyr.
Mm.
Careful. If you spend a lot of time talking to your friends about, I do everything and she hardly even picks up or whatever, we got to examine ourselves first and be very, very truthful. If you really, really want this, you need to approach it with honesty and vulnerability and letting go of any resentment you might have had in the past.
Hmm.
And also that victimhood, if there's
Yes.
even a little bit.
Yeah. If you're like angrily doing something, if you're like angry when you're doing a task, it's like, do you want to be angry about that? Because you don't have to do it that way, right? That's
Yeah.
another tell, probably.
And sometimes that gets into therapy, stuff that gets, and I can help dig a little bit. Yes, it doesn't always need to dig. It doesn't always need therapy. It just needs some good, solid, honest reflection. It's like, oh, yeah, I do find a lot of time, I'm complaining a lot about my spouse. That's not healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Pay
So take
attention to it.
ownership. Yeah, be honest and say, I've been doing that, and I've been bad mouthing my spouse to others. Stop it. You want to be able to talk to friends going, wow, we've got a great thing going. We're balancing stuff out. I mean, negativity bonds. I don't want to shoot off into another topic, but often negativity is very bonding. Oh yeah, me too. And people start to try to outdo each other with the negative stuff. What's going on in their house? It's like, what? What do you do? If anything, you want to be talking about how great things are in your home. So yeah, just be careful about all that stuff, and you'll get much more of what you want. I promise you.
Yeah. Yeah. And on a slightly different topic too, when you're thinking about your list and things, you can also look at the ownership and the types of things on your list through the lens of optimization. So this is a very positive spin of like, is there anything here we can automate? Is there anything here that we would both like to outsource? Maybe we saved money and we outsource this one thing because neither one of us wants to do this thing.
That's
Like,
great.
there are all these wonderful alternative solves, which
Yes.
also very much comes up in the fourth trimester too, when you're focusing your time and energy very much on this new little person in your life. Laundry example, outsource someone coming in to help you, coming in once a week to help clean your home and do your laundry for you. That's like again, using that same example.
It's so smart. Yeah, I know we've really picked on laundry today because it's just never ending, right? There's always another sock on the floor. I love what you just said. And by the way, I have never. I'm sure it's the same with you, Sarah. I have never heard anybody say we made a mistake getting a house cleaner, or
Right.
even somebody
Yeah.
coming in just to do the kitchen and the bathrooms.
Mhm.
I never ever he said, what I've heard is, "I will eat spaghetti for 2 weeks so we can afford that cleaner, but I'm not giving that person up." That just makes such a difference in
Yeah.
our yeah, in our peace of mind. Yeah. So, very good. There are
Yeah, and
many different ways it can be worked out. Rebalancing doesn't mean that one of you actually has to take it over. Yeah, you can outsource.
even if it's temporary while you have the new baby, but certain things you may end up really becoming accustomed to as children grow that you want to hang on to and say, keep it outsourced and it's worth it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. What else? Was there anything that we haven't touched on that you wanted to make sure we talk about?
Let me look at mine. No, we really talked about the burnout signals. I think we did cover that. If one of you is feeling really irritable a lot of the time, and that's where the resentment comes in, or when you cannot relax, when you feel like you're always on. And I hear that quite a bit. It's like I can't turn my brain off. I'm thinking about everything that has to be done. One of the burnout signals is if you feel like you're always on, like you don't have an off switch, and you're constantly thinking about this has to be taken care of. And oh my goodness, I have to plan that. And, there's that phone call about the pediatrician, or about the taking care of this or this or this. When you're always feeling like, when you're never feeling like you can relax, and you always have, that is that's a big warning signal, that you're either burned out already or about to be. So definitely watch for that. And Yeah, that feeling, I hear this in many different forms with different words, but that feeling of it's all on me. If I don't take care of it, it's not going to happen. If you've got that feeling, that's a signal that you're burning out, or you already are, and your resentment level is probably shooting out the top of your head. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is all on you. It is definitely your perception, and it might be quite accurate, but just be open as you approach your partner in a loving way, as we discussed a few minutes ago, and make that list. You might actually realize, whoa, a lot of these things I didn't even know were happening behind the scenes, and my partner was just taking care of it. Or if it really looks like, yeah, we have to rebalance here, it's really mainly on me, then again, in a loving, respectful way, not accusatory, not blaming, not complaining. Now, I work with a lot of guys too. And I just want to, I'm saying men because they happen to usually be men, not always. Sometimes with a two-parent household where they're same sex, it can still happen with the unbalance, of course. We're just talking any two parents, but often what these guys are telling me is, she doesn't notice everything I do. She just
Mm.
points out stuff that she thinks I'm not doing, and I always feel like she's coming at me with complaining. How come I never see that you used to do some of that and you don't anymore? It's negativity. So again, make sure when you're creating that atmosphere, you've got to get psyched up first to be able to approach the whole topic, setting that atmosphere that you want to continue. Don't get all the negativity out of there. You're starting fresh.
Yes. Wonderful. And if there's a couple out there who maybe would feel more comfortable having this be a guided or mediated conversation, could they reach out to you?
Absolutely. Goodness, yes. I don't do, since I work virtually only, and I have for the last 15 years actually, I don't do couples therapy per se, but this isn't therapy. If you just want some guidance and some coaching with how to set this up, I can very, very easily and simply speak with you both, hear both of your perceptions about what's going on, and help you come up with an individualized plan for your family. Yes,
Yeah, I think that could be really helpful, especially if someone's feeling a little anxious about the conversation.
absolutely. And sometimes it really no, that's a great point. It can sometimes be feel a lot safer if there is any angst about bringing it up. You're kind of concerned about defensiveness. There might not be any. That would be, but sometimes, yeah, it feels like it's a scary thing, especially if the dynamic has been set for quite a while. It can help an objective outsider, just to take a look. Again, there's no criticism, there's no negative, there's not a there's none of that. It's just about, what are your goals and how would you like to move forward? And I work in a very practical way. By the way, this is not my the, my colleagues who I gel the best with, we work in a very practical, solution oriented way. It's not problem oriented. Yeah, we can talk about the challenges and what might be getting in the way of setting up a system like this, a dynamic like this, but we're very solution oriented. I mean, my job is to get a couple, for instance, in this situation, on their happy way as fast as possible. And so that might be one session or one session and a follow up a few weeks later to make sure it's going well or to tweak things and make things even better. So it's not about ongoing anything necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're interested, you can book a mental load workshop with Dr. Shosh. We'll put her contact information, as we always do, here in the show notes. As well as I mentioned, her other episodes as well. Go back and listen to them. Shoshana, you're so talented and you cover such a breadth and depth of topics. I really value this about you. So thank you.
But thank you so much for the opportunity yet again, Sarah.